Hello, my name is Laura Wareing. I'm a PhD student and research associate at Imagination Lancaster at Lancaster University in the UK. This presentation is called Youth by the Coast and Countryside, Designing Interventions with Young People in Overlooked Coastal and Rural UK Communities. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my PhD programme. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the context of my research. I'm going to talk about two research projects that form case studies in my PhD, how it relates to the conference theme, the findings so far, and I'm also going to ask you, the audience, some questions. So I'm part of a doctoral training programme called Transformation Northwest, which is funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council. There are 12 PhD students on TMW, supported by 5 universities in the northwest of England. The overarching aim is to research how design and creativity can contribute to growth and prosperity in the northwest of England. Our starting point for our PhDs was the UK government's industrial strategy published in 2017. What stood out in the strategy for me as a starting point of this research was a drive to boost the prosperity of people and places throughout the whole of the UK, ensuring that everyone has fair access to work and learning opportunities no matter where they live. Therefore, I am researching the role that a place-based co-design approach can have in transforming how young people living in overlooked places in the northwest of England are supported in preparing for their futures. A place-based approach is where focusing on a specific geographical location, including the communities, businesses and organisations there, plays a key part in the research. Overlooked communities and locations lack investment in services and facilities which may impact the people that live there. I'm uncovering the challenges young people face in relation to living and working in their local communities, the benefits and challenges of applying a collaborative design approach in this context, how businesses and organisations can contribute and benefit from helping young people to design in this area. The UK has more regional inequalities than any other country in Europe. This includes inequalities in educational attainment, job opportunities, health and investment in transport. This research focuses on the northwest of England, which has many prosperous areas, but it has more deprived areas than elsewhere in the country. And people who grow up in rural, coastal or former industrial areas face significant barriers to improving their future life prospects, more so than those that live in cities in the area surrounding cities. So I'm interested in how design research can help these young people. The COVID-19 crisis has made the inequalities facing these communities even more clear. Young people are particularly badly affected in terms of disruption to their education and finding work. In many of these northern towns, so many people are reliant on work impacted by the crisis, which includes tourism, hospitality and retail. Therefore, this research is really important now. Here are a few photographs of some of the places that I've worked in the north of England. Design can be a driving force for change, used to tackle social, economic and environmental challenges. The Design Council, which champions design in the UK, calls for design to be better distributed across the UK, particularly to communities with the largest economic and social inequalities, therefore inspiring a wider group of people from a variety of backgrounds and places. The Creative Industries Federation, advocating for the UK's creative industries in which design is the fastest growing subsector, calls for those with creative skills, such as designers, to play a role in reducing unemployment, particularly for young people. This is an area which there is very little existing research, and an area where action through design and meaningful engagement could generate positive change. So therefore, this research aims for design to create, and to quote the conference special focus, to create engagement, longer term commitment and transformative action for when, where and for whom it matters the most. I've completed 4 projects for my PhD in this area. as far as I can in the current circumstances, and I'm going to talk about 2 of those. Each of these projects takes place in overlooked and left behind locations, which are a mix of coastal towns, rural locations, and post-industrial towns facing economic and social challenges. It's important to note as well that all of these places have their own strengths and potential. Each of the projects involves groups of people, aged roughly between 15 and 18, and each project includes a collaboration with business or organisation in the region. Each project takes a co-design approach where designers and people not trained in design work through a co-design process together, aiming to benefit young people in the local community. The co-design typically takes place in workshops. In these workshops, a wide variety of design decisions have been taken, including the design of each activity, which support exploration, idea generation, and conversations, as well as the facilitation and space use. Here you can see some examples of some of the design tools created to support co-designers. Industry project partners are involved in the design decisions made before and during the workshops, drawing on their expertise as well. The aim is to genuinely involve young people from different backgrounds, hearing their ideas and views. Their engagements strive to be meaningful and inspire action based on their views and ideas. There has been criticism of design researchers using templated participatory methods when tackling social issues, but these design methods have been designed specifically for this context, and as I will discuss later, they are considered highly engaging and effective by all involved in the process, including the young people. So the first project, Redesign by the Sea, the aim was to engage a group of young people living in the coastal town of Morecambe in a co-design process with a design researcher and a small and successful creative business. The creative business delivers arts events in the north of England, one of which is Vintage by the Sea, for which you can see a poster here. It's an award-winning festival that celebrates Morecambe and draws visitors and boosts the local economy. Myself and the business invited young people from the local area with a variety of backgrounds at a high school to redesign the local festival so that it would be more beneficial and appealing to local young people, still celebrating Morecambe. Not only were we aiming to redesign the festival, but we were also aiming to understand more about how they feel about living in Morecambe now and in the future, provide an opportunity to consider what they want to do in the future and engage them in learning more about running a creative business in a seaside town, and gain a better understanding of the challenges and benefits of using design in this area. I designed visual, mostly paper-based resources for use in the sessions that the young people could react to and use to help them articulate their views and ideas, which you can see here. At the end of each session, the young people responded to a set of questions that were part of a tool to discuss what they felt that they would take away from being part of the co-design sessions. Also, after the entire project, I interviewed the creative business to find out more about how they found the co-design sessions and how it affected their practice. So here you can see the different people involved in the process. We were really blown away by how far the group progressed in such a short space of time. We went from some of the groups saying that they were not creative and not speaking to standing up in front of everyone proudly discussing their ideas with big smiles on their faces. They all wanted to continue the process and gave positive feedback, saying that they had a more positive view of where they live now, felt more confident about sharing their own ideas, and had learned about creative careers as a result of the workshops. Teachers involved also said that it gave them a lot of ideas about how to engage young people in learning at school. And for the creative business, they said that they felt like the experience was like training in co-design, being able to work alongside myself. And they used this experience to secure more funding for the festival and also to secure funding for another co-design project in a different location with myself, which I'm going to talk about next. So that project is The Fold. a further collaboration with the creative business from Redesign by the Sea. It took place in 3 rural locations, which you can see here in the north of England, in Cumbria and the Yorkshire Dales. The aim of the co-design process was to engage young people living in these locations to design a new programme of events called The Fold. The programme of events would celebrate the 3 rural locations, providing inspiration and support for young people curious about working in rural communities in the future. And it was also aimed to be place-based, utilising features of the local area. A big problem for rural communities in the UK is that young people choose to move away from these areas because of ageing populations, a lack of job opportunities and poor public transport. Like Redesign by the Sea, the aim for the research was to understand more about how they feel about living in these rural locations now and in the future, provide an opportunity to consider what they would like to do in the future, and gain a better understanding of the challenges and benefits of using design in this area. This was a bigger co-design project than Redesign by the Sea. To date, the project has had 2.5-hour co-design sessions in each of the 3 locations, therefore a total of 6, over a period of 6 weeks, and it engaged with over 30 young people aged from 14 to 21. Unfortunately, following the 6 co-design sessions earlier this year, the Fold was brought to a halt by the pandemic and has only recently made a move to re-establish itself with limited online and offline activities. The co-design approach was very similar to those that on Redesign by the Sea, borrowing, building and tweaking some of the activities from those workshops. However, this time the creative business played a more active role in facilitating the workshops, sometimes without me, but with my guidance. The co-design took place in evening workshops at various arts organisations already based in the 3 locations. Here are some images of the project where you can see young people working using paper-based resources, discussing their ideas together with myself and the business. We had a very positive response from the young people. They responded to a set of questions at the end of each workshop on the value of taking part in the co-design. This is one example. One of the young people said, "Through taking part, I think that we have all listened to each other and used everyone's ideas in a good way. We also learned that we can do something together and benefit them for young people." So far, it's emerging that the Fold delivers similar positive outcomes for the young people as the process did in Morecambe, including hope and positivity for the future in rural communities. A link was revealed between young people feeling listened to and included during the workshop and how individuals' ideas were handled in the co-design workshops. All of the participants told us how they had noticed that their ideas were genuinely taken on board, developed and built upon in the workshop, and they also noticed that not only the facilitators were listening but also their peers, and they said this was really rewarding and helpful for them going forward in the future. As a direct result of the co-design process on the Fold, large organisations are getting in touch and asking if we can help them do their own co-design engagement with young people because they really struggle in this area. The creative company that I worked with managed to implement some of the ideas in the Fold programme of events, although they have limited capacity at the moment for obvious reasons. They also admitted that they felt a little bit uncomfortable with leaving the process open because they were concerned that the young people come up with ideas that were outside their expertise and capacity. Advocacy in design takes place within the project, within the design intervention itself. As a design researcher, focusing specifically on the inclusion of marginalised young people living in overlooked areas of the North, I use design as a means to advocate for the voice of young people. Design helps young people articulate their views. It gives them a voice in the workshops, and this is both powerful and influential. However, I then take on a further role, being an advocate for the young people after the workshops, making sure the ideas continue the creative business continue to involve the young people and pay attention to their ideas. Without the design process and my guidance, the creative business would not have designated time to hear the views of young people living in the rural communities that they're working with and include them in the decisions that would affect them and benefit young people in those areas. Advocacy in design also takes place beyond the design intervention. So, for example, here I am talking about it now with you people who are interested in design research. And in order to influence transformative action, the strengths and possibilities for design practice and research in this context have been shared inside and outside design research. For example, this photograph shows me presenting to the People's Powerhouse Convention last year with a large audience of people involved in the transformation of the fortunes of the north of England and its people. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, through just doing these co-design projects, other large businesses and organisations getting in touch to ask if they can have help because they see the value in co-design processes and engaging with young people. Although it has to be noted that as a PhD researcher, I do have limited capacity to do this. There are a number of challenges of working in this way. So it's difficult to know where to stop because as a design researcher, you want to remain committed and take action. And working in these contexts where the design research is an advocate for change is very difficult to step back from the projects knowing that it would be possible to continue and share it with various influential audiences and kind of snowball the effect that the project has. Therefore, it's challenging to ensure the projects influence the local community. It's also difficult to evaluate the impact the projects have on the young people in the long term. As these examples demonstrate, it's difficult to encourage the project partners, who are the ones with the power and the resources, encouraging them to have courage to be open and implement these new ideas with young people. A new challenge is that COVID-19 now makes it difficult to have high quality engagements like this with young people. Moving online comes with various challenges, including exclusion of those who don't have access to computers or high quality internet, as some of the rural communities do have. But there's also lots of benefits of working in this way, as I've already talked about a little bit. The way the co-design sessions are designed makes them highly engaging and valuable experiences for everyone involved in them. Young people in these communities very much value the opportunity to come up with ideas, listen to other people's ideas, and have those ideas listened to and valued by facilitators. At the end of one of the co-design workshops, two of the young people came up to us and said, "Thank you very much for coming here to do this, because we just don't get an opportunity to do things like this." Many of the young people involved find the co-design process provides them with the opportunity to consider what they'd like to do in the future, personally in terms of their career. And the process also helps them think more positively about where they live now, and it makes them feel more likely to want to live there in the future. And the creative business involved, who are new to the co-design process, say that they're initially skeptical about being involved, but actually they find it highly rewarding and it transforms their practice, even though I think more work can be done to help them move out of their comfort zones. And I found that partnering with an arts and cultural events organisation in the north who have a large network and influence in the area means that you can generate a great deal of interest and exposure for the impact of co-design when engaging with young people in this way. So here are some questions for the audience. How can design research do more for let down and overlooked communities? How can design work more effectively with organisations in these locations? How do we help project partners move out of their comfort zone? And is there anything else that you just think would be useful for this PhD research? I'd be really interested to hear. So finally, this research has implications for design researchers and designers who are looking to explore how design can support transformative action around issues such as education, employment, and underserved communities facing economic and social challenges. It also has implications for practitioners and decision makers in areas outside design that are looking for ways to foster the economic and social well-being of overlooked communities. And this research is helping to shine a light on the potential of design research in this area. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. If you'd like to contact me, you can email me or you can find me on Twitter, and there's Transformation Northwest details as well. Thank you.